The Republicans are now openly flirting with the idea of permanently blocking any and all Supreme Court picks from the Democrats. You heard me right. Any and all Supreme Court picks from the Democrats are just de facto, default blocked. Doesn't matter which pros, zip it, www.zipit.com. But what if I zip, but what if I zip? Next Antonin Scalia, zip. It doesn't matter who the Democrats put up there. The Republicans are saying, well, maybe we just block everything. So John McCain made that point a few weeks ago. Now, I think he just was kind of babbling and didn't know what he was saying. And then later on, he was like, yeah, no, I didn't really mean that. So I don't want to do that. But when he said it, it sparked this thing. And then other Republicans were like, you know what? Maybe that's a good idea. And now this week, the Cato Institute, a right-wing think tank, is out with an article saying this, quote, as a matter of constitutional law, the Senate is fully within its powers to let the Supreme Court die out. Literally. When you get past the gotcha headlines, breathless reportage, and Inauguration Day, if Hillary Clinton is president, it would be completely decent, honorable, and in keeping with the Senate's constitutional duty to vote against essentially every judicial nominee she names. And then Ted Cruz also weighed in, and he said, quote, there's plenty of precedent for less than 9 justices on the Supreme Court. This is unbelievable. So there are so many angles to this that piss me off. But first and foremost, let's talk about the disconnection from reality that this Republican Party has. They are sincerely, genuinely making the argument. No, see, Hillary Clinton is such a left-wing radical that anybody who she picks is going to be super duper progressive. So, you know, you're well within your rights to just block them forever. That's the argument they're making. On what planet do you have to live to not realize that Hillary Clinton is basically an old school Republican? I mean, that's why we despise her. I mean, you have the massive amounts of corruption, which is par for the course, unfortunately, in today's political landscape. But then, yeah, she voted for the Iraq War. She voted for the Patriot Act. She supported NAFTA. She supported deregulation of Wall Street. The list goes on and on of all the things, all the positions she's taken that are right-wing positions. And they're like, no, we can't allow her to pick a justice because they would be so liberal. They'd be so amazingly liberal. And this is the thing that I've been screaming to the Democrats for a long time. If they're going to say all your choices are super liberal and we're going to block them anyway, why not actually pick a super liberal justice? Why not actually say, yeah, you know what? You're right. That's who I picked, and you should still approve them. But they don't do it because they can't fight, because they don't know how. So the Republicans keep dragging the spectrum right. The Democrats keep following them to the right. And then the entire time, they keep turning around and saying, you're too liberal. So even when the Democrats officially adopt old Republican policies, the Republicans are like, yep, nope, too liberal. So they're not connected to reality. It's honestly like a fundamentalist religion at this point. If you're a die-hard Republican, it's just a fundamentalist religion. You know, truth doesn't factor into the equation. You have these things that you believe are just axioms and sacred, and if anybody goes back on it, they're excommunicated. I mean, it's almost like the story from a few years back where the Republicans literally came up, I think it was congressional Republicans, came up with a purity test. So they create this purity test. Meanwhile, you take historical figures like Ronald Reagan, who they say they love, and you make him do that purity test. He failed something like 8 out of 11 questions. And they're like, yeah, but this is what you got to do to be a real conservative. Even Reagan fails your conservatism test, you jackasses. But most importantly, the Democrats here, you have an opportunity. Like, it's classic Democratic weakness to see this situation where the Republicans are openly discussing blocking forever and letting the Supreme Court collapse. They're openly discussing that. And instead of the Democrats saying, oh, really? That's the conversation you want to have? Great, let me at you. Instead of doing that, they just put your tail between your legs and walk away. Haven't heard a peep from the Obama administration about this. Haven't heard a peep from Hillary Clinton about this. You know what I would do if I was them? I would go out there and I'd say, oh, that's cute. Well, what do I have here? Look at this. This is a poll. This is a poll from CNN. We have 67% of Democrats say that your sorry asses should vote up or down on our pick. 68% of independents say that. Wow. 64% of Americans overall say you guys need to vote and do your goddamn job on our pick for the Supreme Court. But most importantly, even 55% of your Republican base says, you know what? Stop being assholes. Do an up or down vote. So you're going to say no to even your base. You're going to say no to everybody in the country. Oh, well, thank you for leaving me this gift at my doorstep. Watch me go to work. So then all the Democrats, you coordinate this. You have meetings over it. You actually get down your literal talking points. You all go out there to all the Sunday shows. You do all your appearances on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and you fucking crack their skulls. You say the Republican Party is an un-American party. We have the overwhelming majority of the American people who say, do your goddamn job and fill the Supreme Court, and they are refusing to do it. I would go out there and read the article to the American people. Read the parts that I just read for you, where they say, oh, the Republicans are well within their right to let the Supreme Court die out. This is what one of the two major parties is openly advocating for, America. This is no longer a party that functions within a democracy. They're trying to take a step outside of the system and act tyrannical, act fascist, act authoritarian. They're not even saying, hey, let's hear him out and then slap him down. They're saying, we're not even going to hear him out. We're not even going to hear him out. So this is how you handle that. And by the way, the Democrats, on top of being weak, they're also just wrong because they pick justices like Merrick Garland. So Merrick Garland, I don't want anybody to misunderstand me here. It's not an open question as to whether or not Merrick Garland is better than a loathsome cretin like fucking Antonin Scalia, and Trump says he wants to put the next Antonin Scalia on the court. It's not an open question. I'd take Merrick Garland every fucking day of the week from now until infinity over Justice Scalia. But he also is, keep it real, a centrist. On some issues like criminal justice issues, for example, he's kind of right-wing. Now, on some social issues, he's more left-wing. And there's a million areas where he is more left-wing. Again, he's better than Antonin Scalia, but that's a low bar. But this is what the Democrats do. They floated the idea of picking Sandoval for the court. He's a Republican, but Obama backed away from that. Instead, they went with Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland is a centrist justice. So they picked him, and the Republicans spit in their eye anyway. Meanwhile, there are endless quotes of the Republicans saying about Merrick Garland back in the 90s when he was picked for a lower court, oh, this is the best kind of pick we could ever hope from a Democratic president. So there you have it. The party's gotten more and more extreme, and it's just been proven by their own words. And the Democrats have unfortunately followed these people to the right. Now, Hillary Clinton says, yeah, you know what, I would keep Merrick Garland up there. But what I would do is I would do an assault from both sides, man. I would say, here's the deal. I'm going to pick a progressive judge right now. That's what I'm going to do. There's going to be a progressive judge. And you guys are going to approve this justice, or if you don't, well, then I will ratchet up my attacks on you in the public. Remember, the American people are on our side on the Supreme Court, so I'll ratchet our attacks up. I'll get people very mad at you, and I will pick an even more progressive justice. So your choice. You either get a progressive justice now or a more progressive justice later. Go ahead. And again, okay, so you want to permanently block? Be my guest. On that issue alone, I will crush you in the next elections. It won't even be close. It won't even be close because I will so thoroughly paint you as un-American, undemocratic losers who whine and throw tantrums when they don't get their way. Because that is what you're doing. I'm not even going to have a hearing on the Supreme Court justice because I don't agree with them because they're picked by a Democrat. That's what you're doing. Okay, so you want to do that? Well, buckle up, son, because I'm about to take you for a fucking ride. I'm about to destroy you in the media, and you're about to say, okay, no more. All right, we'll vote on it and we'll approve them. Fine, just don't pick a more progressive justice and stop hitting us. That's what's going to fucking happen. But these Democrats don't do that. They're weak. They're not going to argue against the Republicans and call them out for this, and they're just going to continue to float centrist justices. And therein lies the disease and the rot within our political system. When we have Republican presidents, we get Republican justices. When we have Democratic presidents, we get centrist justices. So when do we get a liberal? When do we get a progressive? Anybody? Bueller? We don't. We don't. So the time has come for the Democrats to fight and for us to drag the Democratic Party left and show them how it's done.